What up, everybody? So this is the Gamerish Crew here doing a special spoiler cast of The Last of Us 2. And the reason why we're doing this is because Andre has finally finished the game.
Finally.
And we also have Michael here. So, I guess just introduce yourselves. It's me, Eric, also known as Big E. And we have Andre.
Yes, up. BK Brawler, your gaming addict, and resident borderline alcoholic.
We also have Michael, who is currently playing the game, but he's not afraid of spoilers, are you, Michael?
No, I know a lot of spoilers. But hello, everyone. I'm Michael Brevard-Decker, a.k.a. Captain BD, and welcome.
So the first question I have for Andre is, how long did it take you to beat the game?
All right, so right before this, I said, let me go check. I forgot that they put like a timer in there. But So I played on easy. I'll reference this first before anybody be like, that's it? That's all you put in? But I was exactly 16 hours, 51 minutes.
Wow, really? That's it?
16 hours, 51 minutes. Yep.
Did you do a lot of exploring?
I would say in the first half of the game as Ellie, I did a lot of exploring. I tried to look as many places as I could see. As I got to the part where we started playing with Abby, I was just more interested in seeing what's about to happen. So it was just like, if I could skip through this and just get through everybody, then I just did it. And I have to preference, like I told a lot of people in stream, and you see me stream someday that other people watching me, and I always had to tell them, like, listen, I'm not patient. And as soon as I try to sneak up on somebody, it would just be someone else would see me, and I'm like, fuck it, time to kill everybody, and just get to the next scene. So.
So funny. Oh, when you were playing, I noticed that there were arrows showing you where to go. Is that part of the easy mode?
Yeah, that is something. It wasn't part of easy. I turned that on when you told me about how I could turn off the reticle for the aiming and all that stuff, and what you did about picking up the items. And I was going.
Did you do invisible when prone?
No, I didn't do that. I did that. Oh no, actually no. That was already part of easy. Yeah, that was already part of easy.
Huh.
So you changed the option to just automatically pick stuff up?
The automatic lock on I took off, and I decided when I saw that you could be shown where to go if you're stuck. One thing I didn't want when people are watching me stream is to watch me fucking struggle and be like, oh my God, he's taking mad long to get to the next area. So I was like, let me turn this on. So that way, if I can't get through it, I could go ahead and just click L3. But as I got further into the game, I just kept clicking L3, like, show me where to go, show me where to go.
Oh, okay.
So there's like an actual like clairvoyance of like where to go that you can enable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. There's an actual arrow, like it was pointing in the direction
like
where he's
BioShock.
supposed to go.
Yeah. Even in boss fights, I noticed if you click it during a boss fight, if like you don't know where you should run, it will actually tell you, hey, run in this area and start shooting from this area. And when the enemy's getting close, you could click it again. It'll be like, hey, you can run over here, and they're not gonna get. So I didn't use it much when I should have, but like if it wasn't for the person B-Rack, I call him that, raccoon that was watching me all the time. Like, he was like, you could run away from this if you just click the control stick. And I just followed his advice, and he's like, see how fast you got through that? And so, hey, I was like, thanks to him, I was able to finish the game faster, because I didn't know that it would help me out as much as it did. I didn't know it helped me out during like crucial scenes and shit like that. I never tried it, only when I was lost. So,
hey,
Rack.
So the time that you started playing with Abby, because I am a part of everybody's chats and everything, that was also about the same time that E was wrapping up.
Yeah.
Did the second portion of that game where you kind of went more for completing missions as opposed to like exploring, was that a reason why too?
Yeah, well, Abby, I would say, like, because I was like I said, I was mad intrigued. I wanted to see the perspective, because I'm more of a story guy overall when it comes to things. So I wanted to see her perspective before all these people that we know Ellie killed. I want to see what they were doing. I was really interested in seeing, oh shit, I think one part during the stream, I was talking to E, he was watching. I'm like, man, I just want to see what happens to all these people from
Right.
her perspective. I'm just like, man, it's crazy watching them knowing that all of them are going to die. And he's like, well, you don't know what happens to all of them, which is true. But it was
because it was Lev. I was Lev. You kept saying, "Oh, Lev is probably just gonna die," and I was like biting my lip. I was like, ah.
Yeah, man.
So it was difficult.
Crazy. It's crazy. Like some parts you just knew. What's the craziest part of the game? One thing I noticed that was a giveaway to when something was gonna happen. Every time you had to squeeze through something, you could expect something to happen soon. It always like the loading screen.
It's funny you should say that because Michael and I did the last episode of the Nick and the Hick, and we were talking about this. And I said to him, it always seems like whenever they were going into a new area, they never checked it out first before they actually went in. It was always them going into an area and then something happening. And that's why, like, a lot of the times you can tell when that, as you say, cutscene was going to happen, because they would just go into an area without even checking it out first. And like, you've been doing this for so long, you would think you would just like maybe pop your head in real quick before actually putting your entire body in there.
Yeah. How many
make
times
yourself more vulnerable?
Get punched in your face before you realize maybe I should.
And I said that to him.
Have like some SWAT team. Tactical, go through a doorway, cut the pie.
It's crazy. It was definitely crazy. So just like every time I saw a crack to go through, I was just expecting
expected to happen. And then Michael asked me about, because I said to him, like, you see the cutscene and you'd put the controller down, but then after a while you would stop doing that because it would probably require you to hit one of the buttons because somebody was always there trying to kill you.
But the thing that I brought up is that, and he definitely agreed, is that the areas, like in most games, like in most horror games, like survival games, areas give you indications if something's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like if there's barriers that are out, if there's barbed wire that's out, if there's dead bodies that are out, and then the areas that are safe areas. And and if there's safe areas, they look like safe areas. It's a schoolhouse or a school room, or you know what I mean. It's somebody's clean bedroom. A safe area, and an area to stay alert. And this game doesn't follow those rules at all.
Yeah, that is right. I noticed one thing towards the ending. If I could just skip ahead here, like I'm not trying. We're gonna go back, but just to say, something I noticed while playing was like with Ellie. I was like, hold on. When we're playing the first part of Ellie, I feel like you're mostly interacting with humans and shit. And then so when she goes after Abby at the end, it's just like now you're in this outside area, you're in the light, and it's just this huge abundance of infected all of a sudden. Like we were doing this for so long and we never saw this many infected, and we mostly killed more humans than we did infected. Like they're like, okay, now that she's just focused on this one goal again, let's just throw all these infected in the area, which did creep me out only because I was wearing a headset and the sounds that I had to fucking listen to. Yeah, man, and all that shit was very creepy. So towards the end, then you really face off a lot more infected than you do. I felt, well, I was playing on easy, so I don't know how much difference it was for you guys than me, but that was a sudden change that I noticed, at least with that.
But in the beginning when you play as Abby and you're trying to get to Jackson on your own, there is a moment where you're completely surrounded by the infected.
And I felt running.
You're just, at that point, you're just running.
Yeah,
before you meet up with
that
Joel.
was a great scene. It had my heart.
It was, but it made me
crazy.
feel like what you're saying. It made me feel like what you're saying was that we don't get to see this many infected, and there were a lot of them.
Yeah. I would say, other than that, let me ask you guys this. Did you guys feel, when I turned to Abby, and I guess we're going to probably get to those arms eventually, but when we got to Abby, no longer feared the infected. I didn't fear fighting people. Like, if you guys watch my playthrough with Abby, I just was ready to just kill everybody because I just felt so empowered, which I guess you always bring up, E, about the difference between playing with Ellie and her. They're supposed to be the polar opposites of each other. And that's exactly how I felt, because when I went back to Ellie and I tried just attacking someone straight, I had to remember,
It's not
hold
the
up,
same.
she doesn't punch. Yeah, she just swings her fucking knife.
Yeah, she just punches.
You know, and so with Abby, I felt invincible. You know, and I actually missed her when I was back to Ellie. I actually missed her.
No.
Yeah,
I think that is the whole point of her arms, is because she's supposed to be a physically different than Ellie. And so if you had just made a character who looked more athletic, it would probably not feel the same. But those arms are a presence, and she has a presence. And yeah, it's like you said, like she has this presence that she could just beat the shit out of anyone.
Well, her stealth kill. I've said this many times. It's not a blade. It's a rear naked choke. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. Who knew we could choke out clickers?
Oh, she does. Yeah, they're not tapping either.
I mean, that's the point. Is she's supposed to feel that way? I just want to say, I clocked in at 24 hours and 39 minutes.
So you explored.
I explored, but watching one of Andre's streams, he got to a boss battle that I couldn't wait for him to do because of how difficult it was and how long it took me to defeat the boss. Now, I never died. I don't think I died. But the point is that the boss was just so tough that I had to use a lot of ammo and use some of my heavier weapons. But when he did it, fuck, man, it took him like a minute and a half to get through it.
Which one we talking about, the one with Joel?
No, in the arcade.
Oh, the arcade. Oh, that one. Yeah. I remember you were like, yeah.
I was like, I couldn't wait for him to get to it, and then he beats it in like it literally was not even 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes.
With way less ammo and way less firepower.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, man! Like it took me a while to beat this guy. It was fun. It was a lot of fun because of that. But he just breezed through it, and I had to think back and like it took me way longer. So I wonder if that's why, because a lot of the battles or the situations that Andre got into were easier for him to get out of because of the difficulty. But most of the time I played this, I did not have the auto aiming, but then halfway through I chose to do it. And I mean, it was a little bit easier. And then I also chose the automatic pickup stuff. I just felt like after a while, you're picking up all this stuff. It just becomes.
I'm spending a lot of time doing that.
Yeah, it's annoying and repetitive.
I search every nook and cranny.
Yeah, me too. Because you need that shit. You need it.
Yeah, and it still doesn't seem like enough.
No. Dre, were you able to like make things, like arrows and silencers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I was able to make them I would say at the beginning and middle, I was able to make those constantly whenever I want. I'll say that I've only used a bomb twice in the game. I don't think I ever crafted any.
Like one of the okay. One of the ones you left in there?
Yeah, the smoke grenade I crafted one time towards the end, and I didn't even know it was a smoke grenade. I thought I was throwing a fucking bomb, and then it just went poof, and I'm like, oh my god! And I did my Rambo again, and like, fuck it, let me just kill everybody. And then
you're like, why did that bomb fart? And then you realize
it was crazy. I was like, and then I looked at it again.
Yeah, for you to get away.
This is all through my playthrough, people. If you guys check the YouTube videos out. I think this was in part 10.5 where I called it end game.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, where I ended it. I'm in 10 parts, people, for the YouTube series.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it. Cause yesterday I was just like, I'm getting through this. I'm not making it to Monday without finishing this game. But
all right.
I always had supplies. Except for towards the end, I realized there's a part where I just needed that shit. I'll say one of the hardest parts for me. Well, two parts were very hard for me. One that fucking boss battle inside the damn hospital in the basement.
Yes.
And 2, because I died five or six times there. And then 2 was running away from the sniper, who was Joel's brother. What's his name again? Tommy.
Tommy.
Yep, Tommy.
Being Tommy, which was a shocker to me when I saw that. You know, I was cursing that motherfucker out, and then when I fucking reached him and saw it was him, I was like, "Yeah, kill this bitch, kill her." You know, it was crazy, but yeah.
All right. Yeah. So speaking of which, I guess we start off in the beginning of the story, just because for one reason. So Joel and Ellie are living in this settlement in Jackson, Wyoming, and So the game starts off with her waking up, and they briefly talk about what happened the night before. And they talk about there was a dance, and she kissed this girl, Dina, and she's awakened by Jesse, who is Dina's boyfriend or recent boyfriend. They just broke up. Did you feel like you should have seen that scene as the game
not at all.
started?
Not at all, because the dude didn't give a shit about Dina
they're talking. There's
his
a
girlfriend.
You know, Ellie, you're walking, it gives you this opportunity to walk through the town, and you get to see how everyone's pretty much just come together with this community. And she has to go to the bar owner.
Yeah, the guy goes to the bar. I just meant as far as just talking to him, it was worthless. Everything else.
Okay, so you feel like that was worthless.
Yeah.
Did you
pass the part, or am I just wrong in the guitar so far when Joel gives her the guitar?
What about it?
The blank guitar. Isn't that how this game starts off?
Yeah. But so he goes to get her the guitar. He gives her the guitar, and she's acting very oddly, and you don't know why. And then you still don't know why. But he says to her, "I'll teach you how to play," and she's like, "Okay." And then it fast forwards like 4 years, 5 years, something like that. But I just feel like everyone's talking about this moment that we don't get to see. But we actually do see the scene later on in the game, almost towards the end. So we see the scene where she's dancing with Dina, and then the guy comes and calls him Dyke, I think. And it's just like, why do we wait over 10 hours, 20 hours?
I think it's because most of the game, you're like, all right, there comes the point where we're like, she's angry at Joel for saving her, blah, blah, blah. But then she's also on this massive thing of revenge. But in that scene, what you didn't get to yet was when Joel butted in, you know, and said what he said, but she was still mad at him for that time where she found out the truth. And then like what we were made to think was like her last words to him were like her being angry at him, and then okay, the night ended, and then the next day she never saw him again until she witnessed him getting killed. You know, that's what they made it seem like at first.
Is it possible though, and that's a good point, is it possible though to have seen that scene, at least that scene, twice? So we see it, you know, we see it as the way it played out, and then he dies and she goes through her quest for revenge, and then we see just that part again. And then that way it's, like you said, implemented in our heads that these were the last words she said to him.
Well, that's the thing they wanted us to believe, but then remember there's the scene where, of course, they showed us later towards the end of the game in which she's forgiving him or trying to forgive him.
Right.
Yeah, that's in the same night. So
right.
Do you think it has anything to do with that this was the trailer that we had for so long?
Yes.
That too.
When I first played the game, I thought...
Oh, yeah, me too. I thought, well, here we go.
Maybe, but when I first played the game, I thought, well, maybe that's why we're not getting the scene, because we have already seen it in the trailer.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it was a little confusing, but then all the way towards the end, we see it. But I mean, Dre, you make a good point that that's why. But again, I just feel like we could have seen it twice, or at least part of it twice.
We probably could have, but one thing that gave to her vengeance, you know, was that she was ready to forgive him. So for all we know, we don't know how long she went giving him the cold shoulder. It could have been years that she was
It was years, because
years she was giving him the fucking cold shoulder. Then
it's when
the night she decides to start forgiving him, the very next day she has to watch him die.
Right.
You know, so boom, now I'm angry. I never got my closure with him. You know, so
right. But it has been a few years, definitely. But I mean, I think it's going to be a reoccurring theme, in my part anyway, is that the writing is fragmented and not always so consistent because of things like this. Like you're saying, we don't know how long she's been giving them culture, because everything is fragmented in the way it's being shown to us. It keeps going back and forth in time. And the planetarium, not the planetarium, the museum had been mentioned, where all of a sudden we're back is before they even find Jackson, I think. And you see Ellie different. I mean, I think the whole point of that flashback was to show how much different she was, and how much alive she was, and like almost free in a way. And now, since they've been living in Jackson, she's just like guarded and bitter. And I mean, so in that sense, I understand why that scene's in it, but at the same time, they keep flash forward, go back and forth, so it feels very fragmented. But I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Me, I took it in a way of, they showed us that in the past of what she used to be to where she is now, and an important part of showing us the past, especially the part where he finally told her the truth, and then flashing back to the present day to where she's angry, is because maybe she felt like she didn't deserve to be alive. She's not supposed to be alive. Why does she deserve to live this life, be safe, compared to other people where there could have been thousands of people in her mind, hundreds or thousands of people that would be alive if they just would have let her die, or he would have just let her die. Maybe she just didn't feel like she deserved to be alive, you know, which she kept saying too. She did have that scene where she's like, I'm not supposed to be alive, you know, you should let me die there, you know. So that guilt in her head.
That I said this in our group pod, the whole idea of making a cure out of her would not have changed most people's you know, attitude. I mean, we'll get into the two major groups in the game, but like, they would still be who they were or who they are.
It doesn't make sense that just because Abby's dad died and was the only person that could do this, that they would just give up on Ellie completely.
Right. Yeah. You know,
like nobody's, whenever she strolls into town, nobody's like, hey, isn't that the cure? Yeah. Like, I know our doctor died, but like, shouldn't we lock her up and just see if somebody else out there knows how to do this shit?
Yeah.
But no, nothing. Like, off scot-free because he's dead.
Yeah, once he died, that their like hope had died with them.
I want to go back to what you were saying. If they should have shown that dance, and that becomes a reoccurring theme within our group pods that we've been having lately. And I've been calling it lazy writing, and that's not the truth. It's not really lazy writing at all. It's a lack thereof writing. So there's a couple things that they could have done in the beginning. They could have added that scene with at least. Maybe not even with Joel explaining everything to her, but at least them having some type of fight and some type of issue just to build up the fact that that was her last time that she really got to see him, you know? Mm-hmm. And then they should have built up more with Abby and her father.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
don't want to spend too much time on it, you know, or at least because of how much time we didn't know we would be spending with Abby future in the game, later on in the game.
I think that's where it really missed out the most, is that there was no build-up. There's no deservingness of playing for as long as you play with Abby and doing the things that you do as Abby after doing what Abby did.
Right. So that definitely sends us segues towards the beginning of the game, we meet this Abby and her friends who are living in a lodge, and they're trying to get to Jackson because we kind of understand at that point that they want to get to Joel. We don't know why.
All
but
Fireflies.
right, all X-Fire. Well, I don't even
Well,
think
no, not
we
all
know
of them.
that.
Not all, but at least Abby.
No,
and-
I think they, yeah, I don't know if they all were, but we don't even know if they, do we even
Yeah.
realize they're
they never
Fireflies
made
in the
it,
beginning?
they never made it clear if all of them
No.
were.
Is there
We just see-
anything in as far as Fireflies goes until they start finding the little symbols, Dina and Abby, when they're going around?
You mean mention of
Are the Fireflies
I don't
actually
think
really
so.
even like, yeah, really?
I don't think so.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, there were Fireflies everywhere.
Yeah, there were Fireflies. So we meet Abby and her friends, and we meet Abby and what's his name? What's that dick's name? I can't remember his name. The one that she's in love with.
They're both dicks.
Oh
Yeah.
God, it's not Jackson, right? Not Jackson.
No, Jackson's the name of the town.
Yeah.
Anyway, we meet
I can't
her
remember
and her
his name either.
Owen.
Owen. There we go. Yeah.
We meet Owen and Abby, and obviously it seems like they had a thing or wanted to have a thing, but he's now with somebody else who he then tells her that the other person's
she's pregnant.
And I said this in the group pod, like I was very confused, and I thought that they were brother and sister at one point because they looked very similar to each other. And it's like when he told her, so-and-so is pregnant, and she looked upset, I was like, why does that matter? And then, because I didn't understand, it wasn't really fully developed that they were into each other or had a thing. But then she goes out on her own because they're kind of wanting to abandon the idea of going after Joel. As I previously mentioned, she gets stuck with a bunch of infected, and then she gets saved by who else?
Joel and Tommy.
Joel and Tommy. Now, well, I said this briefly, I think. This was Fanboys Outrage #1. People were really upset that Joel had kind of changed his attitude when it came to trusting people.
Yep.
And so they save Abby, and then Abby leads them to the place where her friends are. And, Tommy and Joel just stroll in and just like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Oh, we're in Jackson. You should come to Jackson. I mean, that was mentioned a few times. Oh, just come to Jackson and we'll help you out. And people were pointing out that Joel wouldn't have done that in the first game.
Yep. Definitely.
So, and I mean, is that a lack of writing or what?
So do you think Joel wouldn't have done that in the first game, or do you think Joel wouldn't have done that in the first game while with Ellie?
I think in my opinion, saving Abby is one thing, but just strolling into that place and allowing
all those
Tommy
people and not raising his gun, at the least raise
and allowing Tommy to just be like, oh yeah, bring your whole crew. I think Joel might have said it too. Oh, just bring your crew in and we'll give you whatever you want. I don't think you would have done that. But again, if he had changed, we didn't really see that change.
No.
And I wish they let us play with Joel at that point. If they're like, all right, this is his last hurrah, let us play with him one more time, before that shit happened. I would have loved that.
And I think that, so Abby eventually captures Joel, and we play as Ellie, and Ellie tries to rescue Joel, but then it ends up just being too little too late because...
And it took so long for Ellie to get through that damn house.
Yeah. We see the cutscene where Tommy is, he's knocked out, right?
Yep.
And then Abby murders Joel with a golf club while Ellie watches.
With a boot on her face.
With a boot on her face. It's a brutal death. And then afterwards, one of the guys is going to kill Ellie, and then he gets into a fight with... Ellie cuts one of them in the face, which is great. And then that guy wants to kill her. But then, what's his name? Owen fights with him and tells him not to. So they basically let Tommy and Ellie go. Which
is ridiculous because they're all Fireflies. Abby's father was the doctor that was killed to get Ellie because she was the cure. Like, they all know this. It's all knowledge,
Right,
I'm
they
sure,
do.
that they have.
Right.
And they just let her lay there.
Yeah, it's like, why just let the cure go? Don't you guys have a doctor?
Because I said once the father died, all hope died with him. Like, that wasn't that they didn't care anymore, you know, and that was a Firefly thing, and most of those people weren't Fireflies anymore. So Joel is dead, and fanboy enrage number 2 was that a lot of the fanboys feel that the game was advertised to be another adventure with Joel and Ellie.
Definitely.
And
was.
Yeah, it was.
they felt like they were. So one of the things was there was a part of the trailer was a scene that involved Joel and Ellie, but then it turned out it wasn't Joel; it was actually Jesse.
Yep, the one where she had the clothes off, and then they had him talking in the background in the trailer as if he was in the room with her during that dance.
Oh, okay. Well, the one that I read was later on in the game, Ellie's by herself, and someone comes up behind her. And in the trailer, it was Joel, but in the actual game, it was Jesse. So people felt like they were being lied to. And I don't know if you remember this, Dre, but I had read some of the spoilers before the game came out. So all I knew was that Joel died.
Remember, I called that way before the game came out. I told you guys they're going to kill him.
But I didn't know when he died. I didn't know how he died. I didn't know you play as his murderer. Like, I didn't know any of that. So
I was so surprised of how quickly in the game it happens.
Quick. Me too. And I think that was another outrage number. Fanboy outrage was that they were pissed off.
They accomplished their goal, because in the first game, they wanted us to feel something about protecting this girl. In which way they did that? By killing Joel's daughter early and making us feel something. Now we have this other girl that we're like, yo, I'm not going to let this girl that's supposed to be my new daughter fucking die, you know? And so now this game is about hate. How else can they make us hate this fucking person other than killing someone that we love and adore, which was fucking Joel, you know? Kill him early. Little did they know that it would cause a internet outrage with death threats and shit.
Wait. First of all, I don't agree. I don't think that's the reason why they killed him off early. However, for them not to know that people were going to get pissed off, that's bullshit. Because I think they knew exactly what they were going to do.
So the spoiler cast that I've been listening to, I've been listening to Troy Baker, and I've been listening to Neil Druckmann and Ashley Johnson, and actually Laura Bailey. But so Neil Druckmann's like, I wrote this just a few months after the first TLU. They've been working on this. They have been recording this, acting this, the mocaps and shit for 5 years.
Yeah.
So he gave Troy Baker first the script, and then he gave Ashley next the script. And they were both like, yeah, go for it. Like, this sucks really bad, but damn, people are going to be talking about this forever.
We are.
Yeah, they knew that. But I do want to say that at the beginning of the first game, yes, I do agree that they wanted to recapture that moment of getting us emotional so early. But I think the real reason why the whole point of Joel's daughter dying is to show why he's basically a crusty old man who doesn't give a shit about anybody. And then he meets Ellie, who is supposed to be his, daughter or replacement for a daughter. But the whole thing is like, he is not going to let anyone in until he then sees Ellie. And then Ellie, gets into his heart, much like his daughter did. But so I have a question for the both of you. So, Michael, I don't know if you'd be able to answer this, but Andre, what was your feeling when you first saw him die? And then at the end of the game, did you have a different feeling about it or thought about it?
All right. So so when he first died, anger. Like, straight up. First off, I yelled during the stream, I told y'all he was gonna die. And then so that was the first thing, me being right, but me being angry at the same time at this chick, and then so but towards the ending of the game now, one, I'll tell you when you almost ruined that part for me where you're like, oh, you fought Ellie yet? You know, and then
Yeah,
so
I
when I
did.
got to that part and I had to fight Ellie, I realized how angry I still was at Abby, because if you watch that stream, I get killed by Ellie 4 times and I don't care. I thought
Yeah,
I
me
could let
too.
Abby
How
I
die.
was
how
the
do
same
you
way.
how do
I
both of
feel it.
you feel about her letting her go?
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
we'll
we'll
get
get
to that.
to that.
We'll
We'll
get
get to
there.
that.
We'll get
We'll
there. But right
there's
now,
yeah.
when it came to Abby and the Ellie fight, like every time I had to go up on Ellie and punch her in the face, I'm like, no, I don't want to
Yeah,
punch
I don't
Ellie in
want to
the
do
face.
yeah.
I want
Yeah.
you to die. I want
Yeah.
you to die. So like I died 4 times, and I'm thinking maybe the game would just continue from here. Abby's dead, you know, whatever. But it didn't. I had to beat up Ellie, and I thought this was the end of the game. Ironically, because I think there's about 3 parts in this game where you feel, okay, this got to be the end of the
This is
fucking
the
game,
end, yeah.
and it
No.
wasn't. You
No.
know, and then
How many
so
times did they fight?
twice I would
Was
say.
it what?
Well,
No.
because the first time they meet is just a cutscene, and
Right.
then
So,
the second time, the second
I
time,
just
uh-huh.
yeah. No,
Abby
go
and
ahead,
her
go ahead.
fighting was when you're playing as Abby. That was the
Right.
first time they fight. Then the second time, which I believe the
Oh,
last
yeah,
time, at the
Yeah.
end of the game,
I
when,
forgot about that. Yeah.
when she goes and does that stuff, which we'll get to. But
Yeah.
at that
But then,
point,
so how did it make you feel at the end of the game?
the game accomplished its goal that you said that it was trying to do. I felt bad for Abby only
Yes.
because of how she looked and shit at the end of that game. And I knew that I was going to whoop her ass because her arms were gone. I knew with that time lapse, I was like, if I find her and she's in this prison, they said it's been 2 months, her arms are gone. She's been starved. There's no way she
Yeah.
has those arms. And then when
Yeah.
we see her again, no more muscle arms. So it's just straight up.
Not really, no.
Yeah, she's still bigger than Ellie, but she also didn't want to fight Ellie anymore. She's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this.
She
anymore.
wasn't doing those ghetto Pilates.
Yeah, she wasn't.
No.
Like
Hell
it went
no.
from, and this is like the way they made us feel sorry because this is the 3rd time she's willing to let Ellie go. 3rd time when she could have just finished her off twice before, but this time when we had her, I'll just go into that fight, and like I went from, okay, I want Abby to die the last time we fought, to at the end of this looking at Abby, and I'm just like, when I'm fucking got her head underneath the water and we're choking her out, I'm just like, damn, it's really gonna end like this? Like, she didn't really have a chance. Like, I would have felt better if she had a chance at beating me. At the end, I felt there's no way, like, she was weak. This was a given.
And I think, but I think that's one of the reasons why Ellie lets her go.
So
Is for that reason.
throughout this game, they're both on the course of revenge. Now they're at different
Correct.
stages. They're at different stages of that, but they're both on the course of revenge. And through what I've seen, they both realize that they're losing everything else around them because of this. All relationships,
slowly, yes, slowly.
Do you see that the first time they fight, or is that building the first time they fight?
To jump ahead, you play as Ellie for the first part of the game, as we all know.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where, she's looking for Abby. She doesn't find Abby, but she finds Abby's friends, and she basically murders the friends, which I want to argue that one of those deaths could have been prevented, but I'll get to that in a second. And then Abby finds Ellie and their little hideout, and then Abby murders Jesse, Ellie's friend, and shoots Tommy. And she orders Ellie to drop her gun, and that's it. It's fade to black. Then you play as Abby. So you play as Abby up back to that point. But when you get back to that point, you're still Abby. So you're fighting Ellie, and at that point, Abby has pretty much lost everything.
She's gained something. She's gained something too.
Well, no, she has gained something, but the LF, the WLF has pretty much seen her as an enemy. Her closest friends are dead. She has gained something, correct, but when you're Ellie and you get to that point, you don't know that. Like, you don't know any of that. All you see is a raged out Abby. And then you get her story. So yeah, at that point, she's pretty much lost everything that she knew.
Okay.
Yeah, but man.
You know what's crazy for that scene though? I completely forgot by the time I was back at that scene with Abby that someone was there that shot an arrow at Tabi.
Yeah.
And basically
Yeah.
I did not remember that at
No,
all.
me
That's
neither.
why during
Me
my
neither.
playthrough, I'm there like, well, this kid's gonna die. He's gonna die at some point.
Right.
You know,
Because
I
you
didn't
don't
remember that.
see Lev. That's why you don't see Lev. And then when you as Abby, you see him in that scene. All right, so yeah, so like I said, the first part is Ellie wants to get revenge, and her kind of girlfriend Dina follows her, and so they're in Seattle. They get to Seattle, and so when we're in Seattle, we keep hearing about basically three groups. Where the first group was the Federal Disaster Response Agency, and then they were supposedly made quarantine zones, and they made like part of Seattle into quarantine zone, and then people rebelled, and then out of that rebellion, we basically got the Washington Liberation Front and the Seraphites, which all of the WLF referred to as scars. So what kind of annoyed me about these two groups was we really didn't get to know that much about their history.
There's no context into why you guys worship women. Like,
well, actually, there is if you listen to the dialogue, there is a little bit, but yeah, I mean, as you guys are talking, I'm reading up on the Seraphites, and it's like none of this is in the game unless it's in a lot of the notes that you pick up. Did you pick up a lot of the notes?
I picked up a lot of notes, and I read every one that I picked up, and I really had any like real information given to me about why they worship this woman.
I think that it said, along with my runtime, was I picked up 148 items. So it's a lot of items.
And you still didn't get very much dialogue?
Not a lot. So basically, Abby works. Abby is part of the WLF, and a lot of ex-Fireflies seem to have gone to the WLF. So the leader, other people in the WLF, but the leader Isaac, they refer to Abby and her friends as the Salt Lake City Crew. Do you guys know what the fuck that means?
No, they're from Utah. I don't know.
Yeah, that could only mean, hey, maybe they know them for traveling to each other, and hey, they're a group that took out that guy in Salt Lake City.
Well, where was remind me about the first game when Ellie with that doctor. Where were they when they were going to perform the surgery on Ellie?
I don't know.
Oh man,
was it Colorado?
I think it was Colorado.
All right. So I just assumed that all of Abby's friends were all Fireflies, and they all came from Salt Lake City. And when they joined the WLF, they still stuck together.
They were in Boston.
Yeah.
Boston. So where does Salt Lake City come from?
Yeah, you're right.
So that's the point, is that, what the hell happened to Dre?
I'm still here. It's my damn kid.
So that's the point, is that here are these two groups that we don't get a lot from them. So the Seraphites, they follow this prophet, and she's painted throughout Seattle. And later on in the game, as we play as Abby, it turns out that Isaac is the one who murdered this woman. And so she went from being a preacher, basically, to a prophet, because they all martyred her after she died. And so basically this is like Isaac's fault for making her,
a martyr,
a saint, martyr in their eyes. Also, their cults, they refer to them as scars, and you really don't know why until you meet what's it called, Yara and her brother.
Yeah.
So they all have to cut their faces to join the Seraphites. I don't know. It just
One
didn't
thing
make
about
sense.
that too, it's crazy. Like we're in 2020, and the comments I see on Twitter when people like, "What's with all this trans shit you guys threw into fucking game and shit?" And I'm like, "Yo, really?" At this point in time, they're like, "If you guys would have made a better story instead of trying to tell a message to millennials, you know, then maybe no one would hate on you." People like, I'm like, "Yo, this is." Mad retarded. Like you people are talking stupid, and like E always says, like no one really knows that they're a millennial too. When you look at
I
them,
know. I was
people
just gonna
even
say,
know
like
that they're millennial too.
they're
You
all
know?
65-year-olds playing this
Yeah.
game, and like they're fucking millennials. Like they're probably millennials too.
The thing that gets me about it are the comments like, okay, so they're trans. Like, what does that mean to this relationship and that relationship? It's like nothing. It doesn't have to mean anything. What does
Exactly.
Joel's relationship of being straight mean to anyone else? You know, what does what does Jesse's relationship of being straight to a trans person? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. That's just what they are. Like, get over it.
Yeah, man. Dope.
I had written a bunch of notes while I was playing the game because I had intended on talking about this on one pod or another. And as you play with Abby, she constantly makes comments about the Seraphites and how much of a cult they are, and she literally just calls them cult, cult, which to me is very hypocritical because the WLF are very much in a mindset of being a cult, because the whole point of this war between the two of them is just basically land. So the Seraphites have their own island, and they are constantly trying to take parts of Seattle from the WLF, and they're just fighting. They once had a what's it called, like a ceasefire kind of
Treaty.
thing, a treaty, and then that kind of went out the window. But what is the WLF? They're no better than the Seraphites at
Really,
all.
the WLF would be the cult, and then the scars would be the religion, because that's the difference between a cult and a religion. So
Correct.
in a cult, there's a guy that has radical beliefs that everybody else should follow, and those
Which is
beliefs,
Isaac.
And then the religion is the exact same thing for that, except for that person is dead.
Yeah, right. Well, so I found it to be very hypocritical for Abby to do that. But then when Abby meets Yara and Lev, she kind of changes her attitude a little bit about the Seraphites. And so one of the notes I wrote was that the Seraphites, in my opinion, was kind of a commentary on religion.
Yeah.
Because, you first see these Seraphites, and again, you're painted this picture of that they're cultists. And once you meet Yara and Lev, they have a lot of extreme thoughts about life. And again, reading about the Seraphites, this is from what I read, not from what the game told me, was that this prophet believed that the infection came because of sin. And so and their efforts to live in a machine-dependent world. So that's another thing the Seraphites believe in, is they don't believe in machines or technology. And it's just, again, it's like, did we really get that from the game?
Yeah, other than them using bow and arrows all the damn time. Like I would say that you got it in a way when you went to their village and you saw that everything, which was basically fire and wood and things like that. Had so much more that basically gave it away. But
it was just so much later in the game.
I'm glad they had, like, one thing. Religion irritates the shit out of me. Everybody that knows me knows how much religion irritates the shit out of me. And it's not because I'm not a believer or thing, but it's because of how easily people let religion manipulate their minds to things. And this game showed that, like, because all of a sudden this woman tells them this, and like I tell my grandma, sorry grandma, I bring you into this, but she always talks to me about why I am the way I am, and I'm like, grandma, because people just believe things to believe things sometimes. Like if I told 100 people that I cured a kid of cancer, 10 people out of those hundreds are going to believe me. If I get those 10 people plus me to tell another 100 people that I cured a kid of cancer, even though I never did it, another 10 people out of all those 100 people until I have my own cult.
It's like a Ponzi.
Yeah, it is like a Ponzi. Yeah.
It's just crazy that like you just get these people that just believe anything. And I figured out at some point in the game they were going to have some type of religious cult. And part one or part two, because there's always it, and all of a sudden, like Jesus doesn't exist in this game. It's just this woman became Jesus out of nowhere, and because this girl, we replaced Jesus with this other woman.
But when she dies, then they just believe in their cause even more, and that's where it becomes more religious as opposed to cultist.
Right.
They think she's watching over them. That she's their Jesus now because she died, and now. Mother protect us, mother watch.
Well, she's more like a Muhammad or something. She's more like a prophet. But why I think this is a commentary on religion is not because religion is bad. It's more of like when you meet Lev and his sister, they are not bad people, and they still believe in the prophet, but they don't believe in exactly what the Seraphites believe in. So basically it sounds like the core of this religion is not necessarily evil, but it's what the people did with the word.
The people that take it to the extreme.
Right. Or they manipulated it to their own own way.
Real life. Things are taken to the extreme and people are manipulated by religion.
So the reason why you meet Lev and Yara is because all the men and the Seraphites shave their head. And Lev, who was born a girl, who was living her life as a boy, believes that he should shave his head. And so the Seraphites had a problem with that, and that women in their religion or their group, they can be fighters or warriors, or they could just basically be like concubines. And that's what Lev was chosen to be, a concubine. So
married off early.
As far as we know with the prophet, that's not exactly what she was preaching. So again, what she preached seemed to be something that I could see people believing in, but it's what people did with her teachings and what they did with her word, and they just corrupted it and manipulated it, much like religion. So I don't know, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, man. I can't, because if I go too deep into it, then I'll just go on a rant. I'm not even going to go too deep into it.
So I kind of jumped around, but eventually Ellie, starts getting her revenge, and she starts finding out more and more information of people, all their names, Abby and her friends' names, and where Abby might be. And like I said, so she found her in what's her name? Dina. They find this movie theater, and they end up hiding out there. And that's when Dina tells Ellie that she's pregnant. So what did you, Dre, what did you think of that when you first got to that part?
I was like, oh, now another reason to make us sad, because I was like, they're going to kill this bitch.
Yeah.
They're going to kill her, and we're going to be like, oh shit, they killed a pregnant woman, which this is, of course, before we did that, and I'm like, oh shit. How did you feel when we saw that you killed a pregnant woman? What did you think?
Well, as I said before, one of the friends that Ellie's kills was preventable, and that's Mel, who you're talking about, who was pregnant with Owen's baby. I thought that was completely, could have been prevented. Completely prevented. I know, Michael, you're not up to that part, but you do know that, right?
Yeah.
That happens. Yeah. So you finally find Owen in this aquarium, which in Abby's story, she goes back to 4 different times. But you find Owen is fighting with his girlfriend, Mel. And Ellie just wants to know where Abby is. And Ellie tries to use this technique that she talks about with Dina earlier in the game. So you take 2 people and you ask one person where something is, and you don't let the other person see, and then they give you the answer, then you ask the second person, and if the answer matches, they're both telling the truth, and if it doesn't match, one of them's lying, and you try to deal with the liar. So she's trying to do that, but Owen is like, trying to get her to stop. She's got her gun on Mel. And then Owen tries to go for the gun. Yeah. And so she just shoots him right in the fucking gut. And that's when Mel tries to attack her. And so they have a struggle, and then Mel gets on her back, and what's her name? Ellie has a moment where she could then stop and just say, look, I don't want to kill you. Just tell me what I want to know. But instead, she shoots Mel. And I was just like, what the fuck, man? And I knew she was pregnant, not because we had seen her before, but she looked pregnant. And everything after Ellie went.
I couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell? And it was like,
I've been around plenty pregnant.
Yeah, you got the super sperm. So, but it's like she shoots her, and then Owen tries to tell her something, and then I guess, but then how did she figure it out? Because Owen doesn't say.
No, because she falls on the floor, her jacket opens up, and then you see the.
No, her jacket doesn't open up. She opens up the jacket.
Oh, yeah.
So she's laying there, and she sees the bump, and then she's like, no. Then opens up the jacket, and there's the tummy.
But also,
what?
Thing there. At what point did they show her dropping her map during that scene? Because I can't remember them showing, because all of a sudden that's how Abby found her, is by finding the map. And I'm like, at what point did she drop the fucking map? There is no explanation of her dropping the map in that damn scene.
So after she kills Mel, Tommy and Jesse find her, and they go back to the movie theater, and then shortly after, that's when Abby comes. And I thought it was like, how did Abby find them?
Yeah.
And then when we play as Abby, when she goes and finds Mel and Owen dead, she finds the map, and I'm like, wait, when did that happen?
Exactly, that's what I was saying. When did she drop the fucking map?
But do you think that that Mel's death could have been prevented, Dre?
It probably could have, definitely could have. One thing that in most games or movies, when someone's pregnant, no one launches for the person with the gun pointed at the person.
Yeah.
This is like the only game where that fucking happens, where especially when the baby daddy is the one launching, knowing that your fucking woman has your baby, you're trying to save her, but at the same time, like, if you're off by 1 second, she's gonna shoot her in the fucking head, Right.
But it's also the position that they were in, because Ellie's the one that wants to know. She's the one that wants information. So she's in a position where she could have stopped. I mean, even held Mel's arms down.
I did say she should have just shot Owen in the legs and then questioned him then. You could have did that. Shoot him in the leg.
I don't know. Michael, what did you think when you found out that you basically kill a pregnant lady?
I think that's a part of Abby needing to lose everything, and how you're supposed to feel sorry for her again. You're supposed to feel more sorry for him, especially since that's the segue right into where you start playing as her.
Yeah, very close. Yeah.
I think that's another moment where you're just supposed to be like, damn, that's fucked up. Like,
I mean, I agree with you, but here's my problem with that. And you know this more when you play as Abby. Abby doesn't like Mel. Mel especially doesn't care about Abby. Obviously it's because they both fucked Owen. But there's there's more to it in that triangle as you play Abby. But I mean, Abby's never happy with the fact that Mel is pregnant from the moment Owen told her. And I just feel like, again, I agree that they probably thought, oh, now you get to feel even more bad for her. But Abby didn't really, the other thing is when Abby finally confronts Ellie, she's going to kill Ellie. One of the reasons is because, she killed Mel. Well, I don't want to give it away yet, but Abby almost kills Dina.
Yep.
And Ellie begs her not to kill Dina. And she's trying to persuade her for not killing Dina, saying, well, Dina's pregnant. And so Abby's reaction is, good. And that eggs her to even more want to kill Dina. And it's like, why? You didn't give a fuck about Mel.
Okay,
you hated the fact that she was pregnant.
So let's rewind back to where Ellie was with Owen and Mel. So when Abby arrives, she finds Owen and pregnant Mel dead, right?
So I think I know where you're going.
So if you left Mel alive, then Owen wouldn't be there, and Abby wouldn't arrive to that spot to see Owen and Mel dead.
Okay. So, yeah, but okay, I see what you're saying. But what my problem is in that moment when she finds out that Dina's dead, pregnant, she's like, good, she's pregnant. You killed the pregnant lady, so now I get to kill your pregnant lady. It's just like, but she didn't really care about Mel. So that's why I don't feel like that inspiration is believable. Does that make sense?
I think that's probably a moment where people are torn, especially women that are playing the game are probably like, bitch, you did kill a pregnant woman, you know?
Yeah.
We're supposed to have all these feelings for Abby, and I think that was a part of that.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. So after Ellie kills Mel, we get back into the theater, and that's when Abby finds them. And then, like I said before, Jesse's just... Now, here's the thing. I think, Andre, you mentioned this. I mean, the way that Jesse dies is just... Again, they go into a situation without knowing what's going on, and then he gets shot in the face for it. Was that really necessary?
No, man. It's just you're running like you should know all of this by now. With all like you're the same kid that ran through a whole bunch of enemies while we're looking for Abby and stuff, and he's there causing a ruckus, blowing places up and everything, and then all of a sudden, at this one moment, you forget about your survival training and you just run through the door and just boom. And give it up to Abby for having this perfect aim to fucking do this while this running man is coming. One shot and bam, right in the head, right in the fucking face, Jesus Christ. Like, it caught me off guard because, yes, I'm used to us going through tight spaces and then getting punched in our face. I wasn't used to us running through tight spaces and then the person that I'm following getting shot in their face right away. That was a surprise. I knew he was going to die at some point, but I didn't expect it to die like that. I expected him to die like Tommy. Well, apparently like Tommy did, like begging and down and, but whatever.
But Joel, you mean Joel, yeah.
Like Joel. Because for Spoilercast, Tommy survives, whatever.
Yeah.
Tommy survives, which was
he survives, but at what cost, really?
Yeah.
You get a feeling of, Tommy's kind of a piece of shit, don't you?
After all that? Yes. Oh, dude, yeah. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. So after that scene, it fades to black, and then we first play as Abby as a teenager, and we get to see her interact with her father. Oh my God, dude. When that first happened, I was like, no. And then we play the flashback. I was like thinking, okay, fine. We got to see how great he is or how wonderful they are together. And then it gets more into just Abby in the present time. And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't fucking care. And the whole time, I don't care what they fucking did, man. I didn't give a shit. I didn't fucking care.
So she basically wasn't going to deserve your sympathy regardless, right?
No. And one of the reasons why is because of the way they constructed the story. I had thought if they set up Abby as a decent person first, and then we get to show how she killed. Well, first of all, we get to see her with her father first. We don't know who the father is. Then we figure out who the father is. Then she kills Joel. Then maybe, but showing her as this horrible person and then going back, or them changing her, I didn't give a flying fuck, man. And so, I mean, like, Dre, I remember when you first played as Abby, and I was watching you, and I was like, get ready to do this for a long fucking time. What did you think?
Well, I was like, all right.
He liked playing as her.
Gear. I was like, they just did the Metal Gear thing. Thank God.
Oh, 2?
Twitter,
Metal Gear 2?
Yeah, thank God Twitter wasn't around when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, because God knows what people would have did to Metal Gear Solid 2 after only playing for like 30 minutes for the whole fucking game. At least we got to go back.
I was so pissed.
Yeah, at least we got to go back to Ellie in this game because, oh man, Metal Gear. Who cares? I still love Metal Gear Solid 2.
I don't.
Here after part 4, and then comes part 1 as number 3. But anyway, back
so
to
what did you think?
Playing as Ellie, man. I mean, fucking Abby. I was, like I said, I was intrigued. I wasn't mad that they made me play her. I was intrigued because I wanted to see her side of the story. I wanted to see who these people were before they all died, which is something that they did help me see. So I wasn't that mad about it. Only thing, of course, I was just all about her arms at the first time, just like, Jesus. Like, I know she wasn't trans, so I'm just like, how was her arm so big? They should have showed us her working out or something.
Yes. Yeah, and that Michael, I'll give credit to Michael. You said that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we should have gotten a
So that was another part of one of her losses is with Isaac, and that's something that they could have built up more. Is that she is Isaac's super soldier. She's exactly what Isaac wants other people to be like, and Isaac's putting her through these workouts, and Isaac's doing this to become, this perfect soldier.
Yeah, they even said it towards the end where one of the characters was just like, this is coming from Isaac's number one killer. We know she's number one,
but it's not that apparent. Yeah, I mean, he has faith in her.
Or in the very beginning of the game when she's having that conversation with Owen, and Owen's like, yeah, she's pregnant, and she gets mad about it, and Owen can say something like, look, you don't give a shit about me. All you care about is working out all the time and getting revenge on your father. That could have been a moment.
And that comes that you bring a good point up, is that we never know why. As far as I know, we never know why Owen and Abby didn't work out. We assume it's because of Abby's revenge.
Yeah, and it is, but I mean, they could have explained that, and that could have. So, see, when I get farther into this game at some point, which honestly, guys, next week Ghost drops, and I think you and I are going to be playing Skyrim up until then.
Yeah.
Is it next week or 2 weeks?
Nah, 17th, bro.
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks.
Next Friday. This Friday's the 10th. The next Friday's the 17th.
Oh, shit. Oh man. Okay, I gotta start working on my giveaways. All right.
But when I get to later in the game, I will be playing it with eyes open because of spoilers, because of leaks, because of all the information that I know, and I'm going to be looking for those moments to where, okay, I'm supposed to be feeling sorry for Abby. Okay, this is the part of the story. This is the dialogue. This is the backstory. This is where she matters and how I'm supposed to feel. So I'm going to be playing it differently than what you two did.
Right. Yeah. There's a flashback. So many goddamn flashbacks. There's a flashback with Abby and Owen, and it looks like they're still training to be part of the WLF. And that's when he shows Abby the aquarium. Abby just cares more about, at that point, rules and regulations, and is constantly saying to him, we have to get back, we have to get back, we have to get back. And he's the one that you could almost see that he's more of a rebel. So at that point, they were kind of together, and she didn't really seem to be hell-bent revenge then. So we never really get to see what?
I said that is true. She doesn't even mention any type of that Ferris wheel scene, like talk of revenge.
But at that moment, isn't the reason that she was supposed to get back? Wasn't she going back to the stadium or something to work out? And
I think it was that they were just, because they were still it sounded like they were still in training for the WLF. So it was just like, they couldn't be too far for too long. You know, like they just had to get back for more training. That's what
So
I got. My takeaway was.
I thought there was
Um,
just like a sense of urgency that she needed to get back to work out because this is what she's doing. You know what I mean? This is her
no,
goal
and
now.
maybe, but it seemed like it was they had to get back before anyone realized they were gone, like that sort of thing. But still, I mean, revenge is never mentioned in that, and I'd like to know, when did she decide? At what point did she decide this is really going to happen, or I'm obsessed with this until it's going to happen, and you know how their relationship fell apart. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of gaps, and so I felt when you play as Abby, you mentioned this, like having to feel bad for her. That's my point. Is the whole Abby part is just manipulation. They're manipulating you into feeling bad for her. And you know, Michael, you said it with the pregnant lady, with Mel dying. It's more manipulation. They want you to see that she's lost just as much, if not more, as Ellie did. So feel bad for her. And that's the reason why I wasn't going to fall for it, because of the way that they constructed that.
Yeah, and presented it.
Yeah.
I think one way they really wanted you to feel it, because after the second time she lets you go, after that whole theater scene, and you decide to go with Dina and start this family, you guys have the baby, and which I thought was going to be the end of the game, you know. Or I thought some big shit was going to happen, and then that was going to be the end. But of course, like it goes from Ellie just getting this peaceful ending to, of course, Tommy coming out of nowhere telling me found
Who's a
out
real
where
dick.
Abby is. And then now you're basically in Abby's position now. So that's why I said during the stream, like, okay, now this became a story of revenge, to someone
Yes.
else getting revenge, to someone getting their revenge,
all
and
right.
then back to going to more revenge, you know.
Okay, you brought this up. So I was going to wait till the end, but I'm going to mention it because you brought it up. So one of the things that I wrote down, and yes, the theme is revenge for this game. So in my opinion, the theme is that revenge is a vicious cycle, and that revenge is a game where no one wins and only ends when everyone is dead, because of what you just said. So, you know, one gets revenge on the other, who now has to get revenge on that first one, who now has to go back to that one. It just goes back and forth until
that's where they
dead.
try to make us feel sorry for Abby now, because it's like, all right, Abby saved us, let us live twice now. And Ellie, you still want to go after her, you know? And
well, they kind of explain. All right, you're jumping ahead like crazy, but because I just wanted to talk more about Abby's story. So Abby is still a part of the WLF, or whatever they're called, and WLF. And then there's word that Owen has kind of broke ranks, and that possibly he might have killed another member of the WLF. So she thinks it's crazy because she's still fucking obsessed with Owen, even though he knocked up somebody else. And you start this long fucking journey of trying to get to Owen. In the middle of that, the Seraphites catch Abby, and then that's where she meets Yara and Lev, because they're gonna fucking hang Abby, and they're gonna hang but they don't hang Yara, they break her arm. And this is how you're first introduced to the two of them, and then Lev saves his sister and you, and you first get the first time you fight. I think this is one of the first times you fight. Maybe not the one with the axe, the big woman with the axe. What did you think of that fight?
that fight, I think I died twice on that fight, because
That's because you're an easy. I died like more, double that and more.
I had to because for some reason, like, I felt like I had dodging down, but sometimes some people move differently than others. Like, you're used to seeing the infected move one way before you dodge, and then humans move another way. But I had to get used to it. I noticed every time they give us like a big boss, instead of like just dodging once, you have to dodge twice or three times.
For me, she had a pattern. So she had this big axe, I think it was an axe or a hammer, and she swings it once, you dodge it, and then you hit her. and then she swings it once and then twice,
Twice,
and then you
yeah.
dodge and you hit her. And then she did it 3 times, and then you dodge those 3 times, and then you hit her. But I couldn't get the pattern down. But then eventually I thought that was pretty difficult. And while you're doing that, Yara and and Lev are like in a corner, protecting themselves. But eventually after that, you get them some safe. You help them survive and hide, but you still want to find Owen. So you finally get to the aquarium and find Owen. And then that sex scene happens.
The sex scene.
Which came out of fucking nowhere. Michael, did you hear about this? I'm sure you heard about this.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
All right, so you find Owen, and Owen tells Abby why he killed that other soldier. And it does kind of sound like Owen was in the right, because the other guy was like being a real douche. And he kind of felt like he was forced, like he had no other option. So he was just basically protecting himself. But he's telling Abby that he's gonna have this boat that he found in the aquarium, and he's been repairing it. And then they're gonna go off to Santa Barbara to look for the fireflies, because there's rumors that there are fireflies in Santa Barbara. And they start to get mad at each other. And there's this great line. Abby says to him, "I've grown up. You should too," something like that. And then Owen says, "Oh, okay, Abby, let me just go find all the people who murdered my parents, and then I can make everything feel better." And I thought that was great, because how dare Abby say to him, "Well, I grew up." You didn't fucking grow up. You're still a fucking mess. And then they start to beat the shit while they fight. He pulls her hair while she chokes him. And I guess the two of them decided that was a great segue into sex.
Yeah.
And then he like turns her around, and you get to see Abby topless, which I'm sure every fanboy was whacking themselves to. And
oh my goodness, your chest looks exactly what I expected it to look like.
Yeah, because I thought, you keep talking about her arms, and it's just she has the body type of a female bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, did somebody research naked female bodybuilders to try to get exactly what their breasts look like? But that was just weird. Then he turns her over and just has like this real like aggressive sex scene that, I don't know, Dre, what did you think?
Sex, it's like, yeah, bitch, take this shit. Like, you was talking all that shit earlier, now you're gonna fucking take this shit. Say something. Say something.
It just
like,
it didn't seem necessary. And like I don't know. It didn't seem that the whole thing didn't seem necessary.
I think it was only like 2 thrusts, because they were probably 1 more thrust away from being rated AO. Like, I was just like, this movie, this not even Grand Theft Auto. Like,
yeah. But then were you surprised that you got to see her breasts? Because I thought
I was surprised. Really? I was surprised. They I guess it was mad flat. So if it was probably bigger titties, they probably would have been like, all right, this is rated AO because her titties are mad big.
I guess
knockers out there. But since she had a flatter chest, dude, not knocking women with flat chests. I'm just a booby guy.
Well, it wasn't. The thing was, it wasn't even flat. It was more of
muscular.
A muscle. Yeah, it was more of a muscle than what you can.
Shit was flat, man. That was fucking. I don't know.
Well, they were pecs.
Her titty.
Yeah,
was
they were pecs.
Her titty was the size of my muscle. There we go. That was her titty right there. Like, that was it.
So after Andre lost his erection, we see them wake up the next morning, and
he said, "Kids, get out of the room."
Yeah.
Thank God they were in the room.
She wakes up the next morning and realizes that she wants to go help Yara and Lev. Now, I realized they saved her life, but did you? And Yara was suffering from a horribly broken bone or a really bad broken arm. Did you feel like, I felt like it was a little out of her character to just all of a sudden, because this whole time it's all been about Abby. What Abby wants, Abby gets, and she doesn't really do a lot of selfless things. One of the things about Joel's death is it brings everybody down. Like, it's not just her. Like, it seems like it weighs everyone down in one way or another, and it kind of separates Salt Lake City group. So, did it seem like it was out of her character to just decide to help these two?
I didn't really think about it. I think at that point in the game, I was just I need to get to the end of this already. I just want to get to the end. So I was just like running through everything. And this was just another thing. And I was just waiting to see which one of them were going to die, because there's no way they're going to let us get close to these people without one of them getting killed.
But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen yet.
It doesn't happen yet. Yeah, I just was expecting it to. But going back to them, for one, I was like, man, all right. I was trying to think of where in the scene. I think she told them she was gonna go back for them, that she would be back.
I don't think she did.
I
didn't think she did.
She told them, and that's why. Because if she didn't, then I figured this is just mad random, that she's going back for them. But then again, she had nothing. Well, no, this is before Owen's girl showed up. So I guess it was mad random for her to go back. I guess they were trying to show us that she has a heart.
Yeah, that was just more character building, is all it was. More character building.
She has a heart. She went back for these kids. She's not that bad of a person.
Yeah, but we don't see anything like that until that moment. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really see much of Abby's humanity until that moment.
Point in the game, basically.
I just felt like it was a little forced. Because I don't think she did. I'm trying to read up on it. I don't think she told them she'd be back, because I remember thinking it was kind of cold. She sets him up with this what is it, this thing, and I forgot, what the hell did she set them up with? No, like a room. She sets them up with this room, and it's just like, okay, well,
they're in that little building inside the shipping yard.
Yeah, like a shipping yard, and she's just like, she sets Yara's arm, and she's like, okay, well, take care, and then just leaves. So I was like, I don't even know if she really had any point, any reason to go back until after she boinked Owen, that it was just like, oh, I gotta go help these kids.
I think I heard her say something about coming back. I think what makes it harder to believe is that, like, if you knew these kids needed your help, you still got fucked and just went to sleep instead of going straight back. Like, hey, Owen, I have these kids that I need to go save. You want to come help me and bring them back? And she's just like, oh man, that was so good. Maybe those kids, they're old enough. They can wait till morning.
They'll be fine. But that's what she does. She goes back and gets them, and then she brings them to the aquarium because she knows that what's her name will be there, who's a doctor or a surgeon, because Mel has learned, she taught under Abby's father, so now she's this awesome doctor/surgeon. But so that becomes a track to get them back to the aquarium. And then, see, that's my thing, is that, like, she talks so much shit about the Seraphites, but the WLF aren't any better. Because just once they see a Seraphite, that's it. It's just like there's no chance in helping them. Like, you shoot to kill whenever you see the enemy. But Owen and Mel end up helping. Well, now they need medical supplies for Yara's arm. So now Abby has to go and get supplies from a WLF hospital, and that's a whole fucking thing. So my question is, you mentioned this already. You do all this shit. Oh, and that the boss fight in the hospital. I had texted you and I was like, dude, this is fucking crazy insane, this boss fight. And you did it on easy, so.
Yeah, and I still die like 5 times. And I'm like, the guy, Raccoon, that was watching me, I'm like, ask him, like, yo, what am I supposed to run here? Am I supposed to kill this thing? Like, I keep dying and you're watching me die, but you told me you beat the game. What am I supposed to do? And he's like, nah, man, enjoy the fun. He's like, I have faith in you. He's just like, I have faith in you. I want to watch and see what you do, you know? And he
Oh
literally
man,
watched me die like 6 times. And just,
Michael, even trying to explain this is like you're stuck in this giant room.
Is this
And
the
there's-
basement?
Of the well, it's one of the floors of the hospital.
yeah, it's towards the basement. Yeah, I think the bottom
Yeah.
floor, she says they didn't clear out.
Yeah, the bottom floor. Okay, yeah.
And it
Yeah.
gives you Resident Evil vibes when you go down there.
Definitely.
Straight Resident Evil vibes. When you
With
go
the
down.
T-virus.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is ginormous and unstoppable, and like, it's just a combination of all the like a lot of infected blob together. So there's like 6 different arms coming out of the creature and stuff, and yeah, it's very intense. But I feel
they
like
said that's where case 0 was too. So
right. But you had mentioned this about the way that Abby fights and the way that Abby looks. The whole point of Abby's part of the game is intense. Like a lot of it is just very intense. The scene where I kind of briefly mentioned this, I think to Michael, the scene where you have to go up to the large building. Remember, they're like trying to get to the hospital, and they're using like Seraphite, paths, and they have to climb up large buildings. And of course, Abby is afraid of heights, so that's crazy. That's like craziness to just you're just constantly climbing further and further up Seattle's skyscrapers. What'd you think of that, Jay?
well, yeah. Oh, you talk about that whole scene? Sorry, I was that whole scene where she's up there. Yeah, like this brave woman, scared of heights like this. I guess she had to have a fear of something. That was a good scene, especially at the top. I love this is where the graphics really show themselves too, because when you're up there, the wind's blowing. It's very rare, barely any visibility up there, and
very windy.
Yep, windy and stuff. But when you fall too, like that part had me laughing because you fall, and then the girl is just like, "Okay, come on, we gotta go." Like she was not affected about falling through all that and going through glass and everything. And Abby's there, just like out of breath.
But the point of that though is that Abby bonds with Lev, and so they start to get closer because of that. So all that shit Abby goes through to get the medical supplies, to then go back to the aquarium, and they cut off Yara's arm successfusly,
which was no screaming at all, and there was no notion that they put her to sleep. She didn't scream at all. What kid is about to get their arm chopped off and is not gonna scream? And
Eric, didn't you bring this up during our last group pod?
What?
That she got her arm chopped off and like nothing, like they didn't give her anything, they didn't do anything.
I don't know if I did, but yeah, I mean,
it would have been a big spoiler.
I don't think I
could have sworn I heard one of you guys talking about it.
Somebody must have said it that like she.
I wasn't there yet at the pod, so it was definitely. D is definitely not there. He's definitely not.
No.
It wasn't me. I was just talking about guitars.
We didn't bring it.
You made a great point. You did make a great point.
Hey, when you were in the theater, did you go try to find a guitar?
Yeah, the guitar's there. Yeah, there is a guitar.
Right in your face. Just right in your face.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, the infected all worked at Guitar Center or Sam Ash, and they all like were able to.
They had perfect mushroom ears.
Yeah. So she gets her arm cut off, and then she's fighting with Lev, and so Lev ends up escaping, and now you got to go fucking get Lev in the fucking Seraphite's island, and Yara goes with you. So Lev wants to go back because they want to try to save their mom, and Yara doesn't think that it's gonna happen because their mother is like extremely conservative, I guess, and really into this religion. So you go into the island, and again, I just feel like a lot of Abby's stories is just very dense and very long, and just a lot of like fighting, you know, and because Ellie is just
why they built her like that, because they knew
yeah.
it was going to be a lot of fun. That's why I wanted to rush through, because after a while, I'm like, all right, I'm not scared when I'm with Abby. I could just run and just bulldoze through this thing until the parts where just like, you better not run and fight here. You know, you got to stop and think at these parts. But go ahead.
No, it just well, I really want to get to the contrast between Ellie and Abby, but I will in a minute. So you go to the island, and I tried to be sneaky with Abby. I tried, but she eventually gets, so you know, Ellie gets a bow and arrow, which I love, but Abby gets the crossbow, which seems, again, it's not as swift as the bow and arrow. It's like Abby, like a little clunky, a
And
little bit more heavy.
More powerful.
real quick
Yeah,
to
heavy.
kill,
Yeah,
because
heavy artillery.
it
Yeah,
threw me off when I shot it, and I'm like, oh shit, this shit is, I don't have to hold it down to gain any traction. I didn't
right.
expect it to like shoot off right away, which got
Yeah,
me into a lot of trouble when I first got it. You know,
yeah.
but I'll
So
get that.
at this point, we didn't mention that the leader of the WLF, Isaac, is planning a attack on the Seraphites Island, and that was one of the things I wanted to mention about him thinking Abby was like one of his chief, whatever, you know, generals or lieutenants, because he wanted her to be in the forefront. He wanted her to be in the essential attack on the island. So yeah, you get a sense that Isaac puts a lot of faith into her, but you could have seen more in terms of what, Michael, you were saying, that
Yeah, more like just tutelage altogether.
yeah, tutelage. That's a good word for it. So yeah, so then you finally find Lev. You find Lev at their mother's hut, and Lev has murdered their mother because the mother was just not looking to leave at all. And I think Lev says that the mother tried to kill him. And so again, we're seeing another character put into a position where it's either them or death, you know. So it's either survive or die. So she kills their mother, and then they go to escape. And while they're trying to escape, the WLF has finally come to the island. This is where the game really gets, again, this word intense, because you are in the middle of a war. And, you know, you just get it from both sides. Because now the WLF sees Abby as a traitor, and the Seraphites see Levin and Yara as a traitor, but eventually they get, you know, they catch you, and Yara is murdered. And this part, I mean, you're right, Trey, you know, obviously someone in this group is going to die. But was it really necessary to go through so much to get her fucking medical supplies for her to fucking die?
Well, that's the thing. We needed to feel something, you know, like if they killed her after everything we did for her, it's supposed to make us even more angry or sad. And at least she didn't go out bad, you know, like it wasn't like she left her, because we had that scene where we think she's dead, and then Isaac's there and she shoots Isaac up in the back to help us get away, which was good. And then
she murders Isaac, yes.
Yep, she kills Isaac, and it's like, even we did have that scene where I felt something where her brother comes, and it's like, she can't be dead, you know, you gotta leave, you can't leave her here, you know. I felt a little something there. Like, it sucks, but at the same time, it's like, all right, man, I'm Abby. I could choke all these people out, you know, like, don't worry, we're gonna kill all these people as soon as they give me the reins again, all right? We're gonna kill them.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, let me put this on record. I liked Lev and I liked Yara. I still didn't give a fuck about Abby. But the whole point of Abby and Lev is that they are Joel and Ellie. You know, they are. That's the whole point. Is Abby sees Lev the way that Joel saw Ellie. And I get that. You know, I get the parallels. I still don't give a fuck about Abby. So I saw, Dre, you going through this part where you're trying to escape the island on a horse. And it's just in the middle of this, like, war. What did you think? I mean, that to me was like one of the craziest scenes.
That was one of the best scenes, like graphically. Like it took me back to like Uncharted. Could I believe we're like in a lot of scenes like that in Uncharted with places blowing up and burning around you, and we're running away to get out. But that was a good scene of riding the horse, being able to shoot people. What's crazy is like riding on the horse, I actually did better aiming at people while running away and shooting people in the head than I did when I got to stand still for like 10 seconds to aim at somebody and still miss. You know, like shows how well I am at that one. But it was a good scene. I loved it. You see the death and destruction, the sense of war. It was no Lord of the Rings, but it still made you like feel something, you know?
Nothing is going to be like Lord of the Rings for you. They're trying to get a boat, and they've finally got it. You have to fight one of those big guys with an axe again.
Which that same trope of the boss battles in the game of dodge, dodge, punch.
Yeah. Which seems like the Seraphites are the only ones who have these huge guys with, I don't know if he was a Seraphite or a WLF, but it seems like you're fighting more Seraphites with giant Seraphites with axes. So you eventually get off the island, and when you go back to the aquarium, that's when you see that the dog too. I forgot about that. The dog died, and you really get like a relationship between Abby and the dog. So seeing the dog dead, I don't remember killing the dog as Ellie. I guess that's how insignificant it was for me, but it was not as memorable as killing a pregnant lady. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Abby sees Owen and Mel dead, and then that's when she sees the map, which again, I agree with you. I was like, when the fuck did Ellie drop that? And then we get back to the scene with the movie theater. Now, there's what I'm going to say. So you're fighting Ellie as Abby. And to me, this was proof that Ellie was a better character than Abby. Because Ellie was so fucking difficult to defeat. I mean, I know you were on like easy level, but what did you think, Dre, of that fight?
One, Ellie scared the shit out of me during that scene. She actually scared because it reminded me of that scene in part 1 where you're like in that house and kitchen and that guy is chasing you like
me too.
There.
I thought the same thing.
That scene brought on to you. Like that scene was so like he's not even infected. He's just a fucking guy that wants to kill me, and it was fucking intense and scary. And this gave me that same and this is supposed to be somebody we know and love. And it's like at one point I'm just like, I want her to kill me. And at the other
I was the same way.
I'm fucking scared of her seeing me because she just runs up on you and fucking stabs you up or shoots you in the head and everything. So like she was creepy, and it showed us her growth and how much we knew how bad she wanted revenge, because we're like, man, Ellie about to fuck me up. You know, like, and even every time I went and punched Ellie, I'm just like, punch me back, stab me, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like punch, you know, like I was rooting for Ellie at this point. I liked Abby, but at the same time, at this point, that's where the game makes you know, that's where your brain goes, and it's just like now the game's reminding you, who do you care more for? Is it Ellie? Do you want to die here, or do you really care more for Abby? And are you glad that you're gonna kill Ellie right now? You know?
Well, no. I will say there's two things about this. Like we've said this before, the difference between the two characters, the contrast between the two characters is more apparent in this boss scene than anything else in the game. Because Ellie is, what's the word? She's covert. You almost never see her.
She's using her hearing like Joel taught her, you know.
Yes, she lays bombs, she lays traps. And it's very difficult to find her and to I mean, it took me forever to get her because it was just so difficult. But the second thing I wanted to say was that I hated being Abby because at this point, you're the one who kills Jesse. You're the one who kicks Tommy. And it just felt like it was, I mean, originally I wrote this was a spit in the face from the gamer, but I don't know if I still feel that way. But it's still, I felt like, you know, you are playing Abby at almost her worst, just like you did in the beginning of the game.
Yep.
But then after that, so again, she's going to kill Ellie, and then she's going to kill Dina, and she says, Ellie says, well, Dina's pregnant, and she says, good. And yeah.
To the background, if you guys can hear that shit.
No. And Yara is the one, I mean, Lev is the one that tells Abby not to do it. So she, once again, lets Ellie go. And then, like you said, that kind of seems like that's the end of the game because Abby and Lev are the ones that go to Santa Barbara with the boat. And Dina and Ellie, you know, live in some farmhouse and raise Dina's baby. But what did you, I mean,
how birth went. I wish we could have seen how she gave birth and where, you know, that would
yeah, I thought the same thing. I did think the same thing was like, they're fucking lucky they didn't need a hospital.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because shit could happen. Anything could happen.
She got her head bashed in 3 times and there's like no scars.
And the baby was fine, apparently.
Yeah, after all of that, the baby was fine.
Fine, yeah. But yeah, we get this sweet moment between Ellie and Dina, but unfortunately, we find out that Ellie has PTSD. And she can't shake off that feeling of, I guess, revenge and hatred for Abby. But I think we see Abby's part first, right? We see Abby's part before we see that. What?
Was it? Okay, don't after Abby leave, we cut back to Ellie in the future?
Yeah,
Abby?
you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Tommy comes to see Ellie and Dina, and this is where he's a real dick because he like tells her that Abby's still alive, and that's the only reason why he's there. And then he gets really nasty. We find out he's not with what's her name, the woman that he was with in Jackson. He's not with her anymore. And yeah, we obviously it's because he's still so obsessed with getting Abby. In fact, Abby was shot him, and now it looks like he can't really do what he used to be able to do.
He's limping now. And
he's limping.
It looks like he lost the eye, or his eye is closed shut on one side.
Yeah.
That he got shot on.
So he expects Ellie to finish this, but Ellie in the middle of the night goes off to find Abby in Santa Barbara. And yeah, you're right. Then we go see
after
Abby
he tells her that you promised me that you were gonna finish this. Like, yep. So he guilt tripped her. Plus, with that PTSD, she probably feels the only way it's gonna go away is if she
kills Abby. Yeah. So we see Abby in a neighborhood in Santa Barbara, and her and Lev are looking for the fireflies, and they seem to find safe house, firefly safe house. And then she contacts a firefly through the radio, and then it looks all hunky-dory, like they're actually going to meet up with fireflies. And then they come across
the wall.
Yes. And then they come across that group. What the fuck is that group's name? Do you remember their name?
What their fucking names was, man. But that's one of the scenes that got ruined for me on Twitter when I
remember there was one of them.
Yeah, when I saw I was like, oh man, I remember going on Twitter and I saw a boy get decked in his face up against the damn garage, and then I turned it off, and little did I know it was a little girl. But at the same time, but I was like, oh, so this was the scene, who knew it would happen so far into the game? But it was crazy that happened. But so I guess they did that to keep Abby in one place, as Ellie had to make this trek. Cause I'm
to go find her.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I know they're not gonna come out this house and Ellie's just gonna be waiting for them like that. Like, how the fuck did she get there? That would have made no fucking sense. but I was glad that they got caught, and then there was this 2-month lapse before Ellie showed up.
The Rattlers. They're called the Rattlers. And they seem like sort of biker gang, and they kidnap Abby and Lev, and then we see Ellie, and then Ellie kind of like follows their trail, sort of. Yeah, we don't really know the timeline, but then we finally realize that Ellie is like a few months ahead. One of my favorite scenes is when she comes across the two guys from the Rattlers who kidnapped Ellie and Lev. And they do this, there's an infected, and the one guy thinks he's being funny by pretending to throw Ellie into the infected. And then she uses that to her advantage, and she pushes him as well, so they both get bit. But for Ellie, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And then she ends up beating the shit out of the other guy, the bigger guy, and gets the information of where Abby was. So eventually, you go to that house and so Abby tried to escape, and her and Lev are like left to die, basically crucifying.
Yeah.
Again, that religion theme comes around, and Abby's being.
There's one thing I want to add too. Like inside the base, they had all those chained up infected and stuff around the place, just like Negan did. And Negan and what's Negan's group from Walking Dead?
I can't remember.
Yeah, whatever. Like Negan's group in Walking Dead, they used to do with the dead. Just had them around, fucking with them, use them as toys or weapons.
Or weapons.
Yeah, it was like that inside of that base.
Did you release some of those infected?
Yeah.
So they could attack.
I released 2 of them. One outside, the first one we encounter, and then the one in the yard.
Well, there was one in the pool, but I started to realize that if I let them go, they're just gonna come after me.
Yeah, that's what I said in a second, but I accidentally released that one because I got caught, and then I was like, all right, let me release this shit since I got caught anyway, and I'll just start killing everybody like I always do. And then I don't know if you were able to sneak through the house, but I just ran through it shooting everybody in sight.
I mean, maybe that's why it took me 24. How long did I say? 24 hours. Because
you went around or went silently.
Yeah. I tried. Some of the times I tried.
As soon as I get caught, I don't try to hide anymore. I just go guns blazing.
When you go to the cells and you release all the people, they sort of get themselves out. And they're like willing to kill Ellie. And it's like, what is with this game in saving people and then those people try to kill you every fucking time? But then she ends up getting information out of them of where Abby is. That she finally finds Abby, and like I said, Abby's practically crucified. And she, like when she gets Abby and Lev gets off, Abby says to Ellie, the boats are so-and-so, let's go and get them. It's like, at that point, Ellie is just tired and is done fighting with Ellie, but Ellie is the one who wants to finish it. And like you said, Abby's not looking so great. So when you turned on the game and you saw the boat, there's this little boat that's tied to the thing. I mean, obviously that meant nothing to us, right?
Yeah.
Until we got to the end of the game.
Yep.
Right? Because that's the
my game doesn't show that.
What does your game show?
Whatever you guys started off in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it is a boat.
The boat, yeah, the boat in the darkness,
it's a boat.
like tied up on the sand. Yeah, that's what we talking about now.
I thought it changes when you run through the game.
It does. But it's no longer dark out. It's like lighter. The sun's coming up because that's the point, right? The whole game is just you're in the dark. It's darkness. But at the end of the game, there's a little bit of hope once it's over. So you have this final battle with Abby. And Dre, what do you think about what Abby does to Ellie?
Like, what you talk about, like, as the swinging and Oh, when she bites, oh, she turned her into Frodo. I forgot about that because I was like, oh shit, now you're 9 fingers like Frodo, but except it was 8 fingers. Like she
It
bit
was
her
8.
out of
Yeah.
desperation. So it's just like I said, Abby is weak. We're whooping her ass. Abby is just like, she needs to survive. Now she has a kid to take care of, like Joel would have probably did while taking care of Ellie. And so she basically bites fucking Ellie's fingers off, which was crazy. I was like, did she bite them off? Like, I was like,
Yeah,
this,
she bit them off. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because once the cutscene is over, it's
You
done.
see,
But that part was crazy because that's when I realized I actually had some type of feeling for Abby. Like I said earlier in the pod, where I'm like, I know we had two opposite feelings, but me, as I was choking Abby, I'm like, all right, this is it. One, I was thinking the girl was gonna come out the fucking boat and stab me or something from the back while I was fighting, or this is it, we're gonna kill Abby, and then I don't know what we're gonna do with that well, chick or boy. I guess I should say boy. But it was conflicted. But at that point, I'm like, I think I care about Abby.
mm,
Like I just felt bad that what she had to go through for the last 2 months, as if I was
I don't
playing
care.
with her during those 2 months. I wasn't, but I felt bad for her, and I wouldn't have mind if she died. She died, but I would have felt something.
Well, so this brings me to my question is, so at this point, has Abby already suffered for her sins?
Well, I
Yeah.
could say they both suffered. Like
Yeah, but we're mad at Abby. Like Ellie has done some. So this is what I say about
So
Abby and
are
Ellie.
you mad at the end of this because Abby hasn't suffered for her sins? Or are you mad at the end of this because Ellie didn't complete her task?
Well, at first I thought it was going to be the latter. I thought I was going to be upset that Ellie didn't complete her task, because this is another fanboy rage moment, is that they feel that
All this
for
for
all this and all the things that Ellie had done up to this point. Like there's a moment where somebody gives her information and she still kills them. But then when she gets to Abby, she lets her go. So I thought it was going to be the same. I was going to be rageful about it or angry about it. But I wasn't as angry as I thought I would be, because it makes sense that she would kind of let her go, because I feel like Ellie has paid for her sins. She's gone through so much and pretty much withered away and would have died if it wasn't for Ellie. So I kind of understand why she let her go. I still don't give a fuck about Abby, but I do kind of understand it. But see, the reason why I still stand by my not caring about Abby is I feel like Abby created a monster, right? And Ellie was that monster, that revenge, hateful, PTSD. She is that monster. So you can't blame the monster. You have to blame the creator. And so that's why I feel like Abby got what she deserved, in a sense, because she created the situation, in a sense. Because a lot of the things that happened, I think, results in what Abby did. It's almost like a game of dominoes. It just all fell because of
yeah.
Abby.
And it all started with Joel because he wouldn't have been killed by Abby if he didn't do what he did.
Yeah, I would say that
Yeah.
Joel created the monster, and
You think Joel created the Abby?
Turned that monster on.
Yeah.
Hit that on
Yeah.
switch.
Like you said.
But Joel's definitely the one that made her capable.
So let's say this. Oh, I was gonna say, well, I'm probably jumping ahead here, but I was gonna say, like, now, first off, at the end when we see the new start menu, is that the aquarium in the background when we get to the new beach, the new
It's possible.
is you thinking it? Because I was wondering what it is. Like the guy was talking to Raccoon, he was saying he thinks that's the aquarium.
I'll have a
So
look.
maybe that where Abby frequents there, maybe that's where she went back to after all this was done, instead of going to the Fireflies. Because who knows, maybe the Fireflies moved between the 2 months that she was missing. But if not, then maybe, hey, that's where we start off in part 3. Like if there's a part 3, which I'm sure there will
I'm sure
be,
there will be. Yeah.
Where do you guys think where do you think the story will go? Because I don't see anything left for Ellie right now.
Well, well, I mean, let's just say before I answer that question, Ellie goes back to the house, and Dean is gone,
yes.
and we're left with Ellie playing Joel's guitar that she's saved, and then she eventually just leaves the house. I don't know. I really don't know where the story can go. Do we get new characters? You know,
Yeah,
do we see?
You'd
What?
have to.
Do you see Ellie die an hour
Abby.
into the game?
I think we're gonna play as Abby with the boy and seeing that, which will probably irritate you if they show The Last of Us 3 featuring Abby.
You know, it's like a TV show. It's like when a TV show adds a character and they try to make you love that character. It's like, no, I'm not gonna love that. I don't give a fuck what you do. I don't care about this character.
Or what they can do with the third one is kind of what they should have done in this one. And when Abby hooks back up with the Fireflies, they can be like, hey, we've got this new physicist that can do all this shit.
And then they go after Ellie.
Do you still know where she's at?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's possible.
Yeah, that whole game could just be us hunting Ellie for all we know.
Yeah.
You know, that would be
What did you think of that ending though? Her going back to the house and it being empty and then just being like, oh well.
I'm thinking maybe she's gonna go. There's so many ways it could go now. One, leaving the guitar behind could be her trying to leave that last piece of Joel she had left behind, so that way she could stop thinking about this revenge thing all the time. I think that's why she left the guitar behind and all that stuff there. The other thing, she could be heading back to town for all we know. We don't know if she's gonna go back to town and see if Dina's there. Cause I said that. I was like, by the time she comes back, I said it during the stream, she's gonna be gone, and she probably went back to the town.
Yeah, I figured she went back to town
by herself. You know, I don't think she think she could raise that kid by herself.
Well, they mentioned parents, so she still had parents who lived in Jackson, Dina.
Yeah. So, and then maybe, hey, for all we know, something could happen. They get back together. We play as the boy in Last of Us 3. You know, we could play as him in part 3 for all we know. You know, raised by Ellie and Dina and all these crazy skills he has because of what Ellie taught him out in the wild.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many ways the story could go. You know,
yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like one of the biggest themes of this game was the sins of your past come back to haunt you. Because, Michael, you did kind of say that Joel was the one that created the monster first. And, you know, it's like all these people are coming back because they were created by sins or mistakes. And yeah, I think that's a big theme. You know, that and revenge is the game where it only ends when everyone is dead. Because that's pretty much...
Or just ruined, or you've just ruined everything.
Ruined, yeah.
Like they said, what's that saying that someone used? Like when you're on the quest for revenge, dig 2 graves or some shit like that. Saying goes, you know.
Because that's more or less the feeling that you get of why Ellie does let Abby go, right? It's just because she's just like, why am I doing this anymore? Like nothing's getting fixed, nothing's getting accomplished. Everything's in my life's turning to shit because of this revenge.
Do you guys think all the haters on the internet would have been more sad? But then again, most of these people were fucking bitching before they even finished the game. So I can't even ask the question, do you guys think they would be more satisfied if Abby died at the end? You know, would they have been less
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
It probably would have, but most of the bitching came a day.
I think it would have been more fan justice, but I just don't think that that's what writers or Neil Druckmann or anybody gave a shit about.
Right.
Because they had to leave us with something for part 3. We don't look at us now guessing which way the story could go, because there's 3-4 different options.
Yeah, and now there's more options. If Abby would have died, then that's a whole branch off that tree that's gone.
Oh, it's gone, yeah. And we never know what happened to the Fireflies.
True.
Yeah. So
Well, let me say, I gotta say that I kind of agree with why people were so angry about this game. But what about you, Dre? What, after everything's said and done, what did you think of the story?
Well, the story, I liked it. I still love the storytelling. I wasn't mad. I felt like maybe the ending could have been different, but at the same time, as I was thinking about what Last of Us 3 could be like, I could understand why they left the story there. It only sucks that we're probably going to wait until the end of the PS5 generation till we finally get Last of Us 3, where I would hope and pray that Gamerish is a huge conglomerate and we're fucking doing TV reviews at E3 2020. I mean, 2030, you know, we're up there doing big things and shit. But, you know, I'm overall satisfied with it. They gave me a lot of set pieces. Yes, I was able to predict that who was going to die and when crazy shit was probably about to happen. But overall, I can't say I'm going to play the game again on New Game Plus because I got too many games to play, guys. I just don't play games over again. If I do, this game is a masterpiece, but there's other masterpieces that I played over and over again. One, because of the multiple ways it can end, Mass Effect 2. Two, because it's the greatest game ever made, Metal Gear Solid 4. 2 and 1, but you know, I'm not gonna go into that. But I'm overall, I'm satisfied with the story. You know, especially since I don't know how it would have felt if Abby would have got killed, and then that would have been that. You know, especially with the kid there. I don't know where they would have went with the kid, because what they would have did, now the kid grows up and he goes on a quest for revenge in part 3. Like what would have did with that? I think it just would have been more of the same, you know, if they would have went that route. So
Hey, so for me, you kind of cut out. So the games to play.
hold on, wait. Now you just cut out on me. I heard games to play. What did you say before that?
I said that I didn't hear if you would play this game again. I guess the answer is no, right?
No.
No,
The answer is no.
Yeah, I wouldn't play the game again. I just got
as much as I don't like the story, I will play this game again.
Well, here we go. When it becomes free again on PS5 on a PlayStation Plus game in 4 years, I'll play it over again to see if blood wipes on your pants when you finish killing somebody.
Oh God!
Yeah,
you're obsessed with that.
I'm not over that yet. But I'll play it again.
That's your problem. All the inconsistencies of the story, and that's your problem.
Because I was fine with the story, you know. So
yeah, but we even pulled apart. We even proved there were a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of holes, a lot of ways that the story could have been improved.
But I'm figuring we're gonna get DLC like we got with Left Behind. I think we'll get.
There's no deal. No, they're saying there is no DLC with this game.
But they also told us there was going to be no multiplayer, and now there's multiplayer in the works.
Yeah, they said there is no DLC, that this game is done. This is the end of its cycle.
You really think the DLC can fix some of the holes that are in the story?
Depends on who we're playing during the DLC. Depends on which character's POV we're going to play as.
But I said before, I think the structure of this game ruins the emotional... You know, any emotion that I could have had for Abby was pretty much destroyed because of how the story was structured.
Right. You're right. I guess, I don't know. I'm just satisfied because if the story wasn't good, I would have never finished the game. Because like I said, I'm all about story. And if a story isn't good to me, I feel like there's no reason for me to keep playing the damn game. So the story was at least good enough for me to finish it. Plus, it's The Last of Us. Who's not gonna finish this game except Dave?
Yeah.
But you know,
yeah, I wasn't happy with the story, but I wanted to see where it was gonna go at least. So you guys still think this is game of the year?
It's a contender for sure.
Thus far, yeah.
Thus far, it is game of the year. Even though I know future podcasts will have the Animal Crossing versus Last of Us argument.
Unfortunately, Animal Crossing won't be held in high enough esteem to take. Animal Crossing will take the family game of the year. It will take the Nintendo game of the year. It will take that for sure, hands down.
Yeah.
Even though people played Animal Crossing more and continue to play Animal Crossing when updates come out, it won't take on TLU. It won't take on a PlayStation exclusive.
There's usually four or five games that they nominate during the year for Game of the Year. And right now, we know Cyberpunk is practically out of the conversation because of it coming out in November now. So it'll be out of the conversation. So right now is The Last of Us 2, Animal Crossing, Ghost of Tsushima. And unless Halo Infinite is coming out in October.
What else?
Yeah, Halo Infinite could come out with the Xbox Series X launch.
Yeah, if that comes out in October, then Halo Infinite is part of the conversation, those 4 games. But right now, it's just Animal Crossing and TLU and Ghost of Tsushima. And I think because of how much hate The Last of Us 2 got for not any logical reasons in my head, except for those of you that complain for sane things, not those of you that complain because life isn't what it seems inside your little box. Then Ghost of Tsushima is probably gonna win just because of that. But I guess I have to see. I'm not gonna jump the gun.
I think we see. Yeah.
I gotta play.
It's really gonna be a lackluster year though from games, huh? If it's just going to be those 3 games.
Yeah,
it was a lot of games of service. I mean, Warzone might be one that might be, go up there.
Maybe. But then again, hey, we never know. Even that new Life is Strange that's coming out. Well, it's not called Life is Strange, but from Don't Know.
Oh yeah.
Coming out, that might even hit us in the emotional stream. Even though I might be the only one between the 4 of us that plays it, but I'm streaming that shit, and I will cry on camera, people. I don't give a fuck. So it happens, I will cry on camera, and it'll make my wife mad, but I'll do it, But
I think that's a good way to end this.
Yes.
All right.
Anyone have any last thoughts?
No last thoughts for me, man. I just hope, as usual, guys, if you want to continue getting things like this and support us, we highly recommend you join our Patreon. You'll get all our podcasts 2 days early. You'll help us give out more prizes that we give out now for things. Instead of waiting 1 month for me to give out something, you might get maybe 3 or 4 prizes a month, except for having to wait for when a big video game is coming out. Follow us on YouTube, Gamerish Network. On our Discord is Patreon members only. So if you want to join the Discord, you could just come on, support us for $2 a month. It's not a lot. You guys spend $2 a day, more than $2 a day. We can only hope that you are willing to give us just $2 a month. Just think of us as those poor people out on the street that you feel sorry for, but, we just want to keep entertaining you people and keep having fun and talk about this stuff and have more to give to you guys, and go on our Facebook group, Gamerish Facebook group. You can see all the tiers on there, or you could just go on the Patreon website, Patreon/Gamerish, Patreon.com/Gamerish, and check out all our tiers, see if there's something you like. And if you decide to support us, thank you. And even if you can't support us that way, we appreciate you listening and watching all the time. Well, I guess that's it. You guys have anything else to add?
Nope.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.